The story behind BUA Group is a story of success and tragedy. To understand what I am saying is to go back century ago to the death of Khalifa Ishaku Rabiu. Abdul Samad Rabiu didn't have a childhood filled with obvious crippling events in the dramatic sense, like war, extreme poverty, or abandonment. But his journey was shaped by serious challenges that could have derailed many people. These moments tested him early and could have crippled his path if handled differently.
Who collapsed under inherited responsibility. He didn't. But to truly understand who he is, you must go back to where it all began. Kano State, Nigeria, on the 4th of August, 1960. Abdul Samad Rabiu, he was born into the household of Khalifa Ishaku Rabiu, known to many simply as Sheikh Ishaku Rabiu, one of the most powerful and respected industrialists in northern Nigeria. His father was not just a wealthy man, he was an Islamic scholar, a commodity trader, a man whose house was literally called the Quran House, a place where the teachings of the Quran were the order of every single day. The family were devout Tijaniya Muslims, and almost every member of that household had memorized the Quran completely. His father built his fortune through imports and exports of commodities: rice, cotton, groundnuts, textiles, establishing Ishaku Rabiu and Sons, a trading empire that spanned manufacturing, finance, and real estate across northern Nigeria during Nigeria's post-independence economic boom of the 1970s and 1980s. Growing up in that household, young Abdul Samad sat at the feet of a giant. Every conversation, every negotiation, every trade was a lesson being inscribed in his mind. His mother complemented what his father was building, instilling in him Islamic values, humility, and a culture of charity that would follow him for the rest of his life. The Rabiu household was a large and polygamous one. Abdul Samad grew up with 42 siblings, including Nafiu Rabiu and Rabiu Rabiu, who would later become chairman of IRS Airlines. In that large family, he learned early about competition, collaboration, and the responsibility that comes with carrying a powerful name. He had his primary and secondary education in Kano State, growing up in the city's vibrant commercial atmosphere, one of West Africa's oldest and most important trading hubs. Then, he crossed the ocean. He traveled to the United States of America and enrolled at Capital University in Columbus, Ohio, where he studied economics. America opened his eyes. It gave him frameworks, sharpened his analytical mind, and showed him what scale truly looked like. Then in 1984, everything changed. He was just 24 years old, still a young man with fresh ideas and dreams of building something great, when the news came from home. His father, the great Khalifa Ishaku Rabiu, had been detained by the military administration of General Muhammadu Buhari, accused of failing to pay rice import duties. The family business was in chaos. Assets were being seized. Shipments were grounded. Even the private jets were grounded. The empire was bleeding. Abdul Samad packed his bags and came home, not because someone asked him to, but because he was his father's son. At 24, without a fully mapped out plan, he stepped into a storm and began to steady the ship. He managed, seized shipments, renegotiated supplier contracts, handled government relations, kept employees from panic, and held the entire family operation together with his bare hands. There was no mentor walking him through it. There was no blueprint. Just a young economics graduate from Ohio, running a crisis in northern Nigeria, learning the hard way what real business felt like. Then, in 1986, his father died. The patriarch was gone. The man who built it all. The man who was Quran House. Gone. But Abdul Samad did not collapse. He had already been forged in fire. In 1988, 4 years after returning home, he made his move. He founded BUA International Limited, entirely his own, built from his own vision and his own sweat. The company focused on commodity trading, importing rice, edible oil, flour, iron, and steel into Nigeria. It was humble in the beginning, just trading, just movement of goods. But he was building infrastructure in his mind while products moved on ships. In 1990, BUA International signed a landmark contract with the Delta Steel Company, a government-owned entity, to supply raw materials in exchange for finished products. That deal gave BUA its first major windfall and opened the door to something bigger. From there, BUA expanded to steel, producing billets, importing iron ore, constructing rolling mills across Nigeria. Then, they moved into edible oil, acquiring Nigerian Oil Mills Limited, the largest edible oil processing company in the country. In 2005, Abdul Samad launched 2 flour milling plants, one in Lagos, one in Kano, further broadening BUA's reach across the food supply chain. But the move that truly shook Nigeria came in 2008. For 8 consecutive years, one company had held an absolute monopoly over Nigeria's sugar industry. One refinery, one supplier, one price, no competition. In 2008, Abdul Samad Rabiu walked into that monopoly and broke it, commissioning the second largest sugar refinery in sub-Saharan Africa, right in Port Harcourt. Nigeria had never seen anything like it. The market shook, consumers breathed, and his rival, the mighty Aliko Dangote, took notice. A fierce competition was born, one that would define Nigerian industry for years to come, with both men battling for dominance in cement and sugar, accusing each other of everything from price fixing to sending thugs to attack factories. In 2009, BUA acquired a controlling stake in a publicly listed cement company in northern Nigeria and commenced the construction of a $900 million cement plant in Edo State, the largest capital investment of his career at the time. It took 6 years to complete. It was launched in 2015, and when it opened, it announced to the world that BUA was no longer just a trading company. BUA was a manufacturing force. He married Hannatu Musawa, and together they had 4 children: Khadija Kuki Rabiu, Isyaku Khalifa Rabiu, Junaid Rabiu, and Rania Rabiu. Though the marriage later ended in divorce, his children remain part of the growing Rabiu legacy. Today, BUA Group is one of Nigeria's most powerful conglomerates, spanning BUA Cement, Nigeria's second largest cement producer, BUA Foods, second largest pasta producer, and one of the country's biggest food companies, BUA Ports and Terminals, edible oils, real estate, agriculture, and infrastructure. Both BUA Cement and BUA Foods are publicly listed on the Nigerian Exchange through the BUA Foundation and the Abdul Samad Rabiu Africa Initiative, SR Africa. He has committed over $100 million to health, education, and social development across the African continent, building a pediatric ward at Aminu Kano, teaching hospital, funding the Center for Islamic Studies at Bayero University Kano, giving 600 million naira in interest-free loans to 2,000 farmers, and much more. He has been awarded the Commander of the Order of the Niger, CON, the Commander of the Federal Republic, CFR, and the Grand Commander of the Order of Merit of Niger by the Republic of Niger. He sits on international advisory boards and attends the World Economic Forum in Davos. And as of 2026, his net worth stands at $12.3 billion, making him one of the richest men in Nigeria and among the wealthiest people on the African continent. His father built a house called the Quran House. His father traded rice and cotton and was thrown in prison. His father died before seeing the fullness of what his son would become. And yet, everything that son touched turned to empire. This is Abdul Samad